How was Brisbane, Dagogo?
Yeah, not too bad. It's actually exceeded my expectations. A lot happening there, and it was, good weather. Like here it's raining and everything, but there it was actually quite hot, which was surprising.
Well, it's only since yesterday it's been raining. The last 4 days has been impeccable.
Oh, really?
It was beautiful.
Oh, no.
I have a few friends who came over. They're actually, musicians from Bangladesh who are touring Australia right now. And the first stop was in Melbourne and then came to Perth. So I told them that, you've come at the perfect week, and then it started raining yesterday. But they were saying how bad Melbourne was in terms of weather, and Perth was beautiful. So I think you missed that
right
part.
I've experienced.
But is Brisbane the sunny state, or is it?
Yeah, I think the number plate says the Sunshine State.
The Sunshine State.
Yeah, and I was talking to someone randomly at a restaurant, and he says, over 300 days a year of sunshine.
Oh wow!
So it's quite sunny.
Cool. So you had zero expectations. So and it exceeded everything.
They just have a lot of cool stuff. I think the government, they have, an eye on the ball of what people want. So that there's been a lot of developments. So for example, they have, old industrial powerhouses, which has been turned into a market. They have the old port that they used to have. They've turned it food trucks everywhere, a full-on festival thing that happens every weekend for the whole of the year. And it's just really cool, a lot of that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it was impressive, actually.
We do have quite a few Australian listeners. I'm seeing more and more comments about Australian listeners saying that, I'm from Perth and I'm from South Australia, just saying hi. So yeah, if you're listening from Brisbane,
maybe you saw me walking around.
Do leave a
Actually, there was one thing. So there was this guy that was painting a mural in the city CBD, and I had a chat to him and we're talking, and then I left and I was like, I should actually ask him about AI stuff, just what he thinks of AI art. So I came back and he was gone, and I never saw him again. His mural was half finished. It was a huge thing, but he just never returned.
It was AI all along. Yeah, but I mean, do you get recognized anyway?
So it's definitely happened before. Obviously, I don't show my face that often, so it's only the OG people that do. But yeah, it's happened in Melbourne. It's happened when I'm overseas. It happened in Sweden. It's happened
Right. So it's not.
It's totally not it's not everywhere. So, and I kind of like that,
We did have 100,000 downloads.
Yes.
That was a great milestone. So thank you for those listening in. Because we do get a lot more listeners than viewers on YouTube. So if you're listening in, we actually have no idea who you are, where you're listening from, and we kind of look at the data, but it's we don't know you as opposed to the commenters on YouTube. I think there's been a few regular commenters. We kind of know, their name tags and their profile picture. So that's cool. So if you're listening in, maybe just leave a comment, say hi. We'll see how you go from there. Look, I'm going to jump in straight because we have a lot of stuff to cover. Just going to read a few quotes. We've discovered the secret of immortality. The bad news is it's not for us.
Okay. Interesting. Tell me more.
It's the Godfather of AI.
Oh.
Warning us about AI. So it's Geoffrey Hinton, for those who don't know, also commonly known as the Godfather of AI. He recently quit Google and also for some reason started warning everyone about the dangers of artificial intelligence, and he's kind of laid out a few points as to why he thinks it's such a dangerous situation with AI. And the first thing is, he fears that we're about to flood ourselves with misinformation because of fake images, videos, and texts, leaving behind a world in which normal people will not be able to know what's true anymore. So that's his first point. The second is that he thinks AI will wreak havoc on the job market as masses of human workers are simply displaced. And he goes on to also say that there are ways in which AI will actually be more intelligent than human beings and the human brain. He even draws the parallels to that of how we are more intelligent than, say, a frog. And it's going to learn from the web. It's going to have to read every single book that's ever been there, and it'll eventually learn how to manipulate people for its own benefit. Pretty much stuff of the sci-fi movies that we've seen. Just on that note as well, I don't know if you saw Snoop Dogg expressing his views on AI. The thing is, right up when this is coming out, there's articles coming out about Snoop Dogg expresses his views about AI, and one of the quotes, and obviously I'll read it in my way. I can't do the Snoop Dogg impression, but then again, you can just get the visualizers, the voice synthesizer these days. So anybody can take this clip and put Snoop Dogg's voice in, but he says, I heard the old dude that created AI saying, this is not safe because the AI's got their own minds and this mother gonna start doing their own.
Oh, that's a good summary.
I mean, Brayden, you'll have to bleep some stuff out. I'm like, are we in a movie right now or what? Man, so do I need to invest in AI or I can have one with me? I have no idea what's going on. Right. So that's Snoop Dogg's reaction. But going back to the whole Jeffrey Hinton's points, the first two about the misinformation and then about losing jobs, it just seems like it's a bit late to the party.
Yeah, you could say that. But I was going to say, as you're saying all of this, I think it's a huge, like not even footnote, but headline that this guy isn't just any guy. Yeah. So Jeffrey Hinton, back in 2012, he released a hallmark paper with a few colleagues that literally brought on the modern day AI as we know it, because he was working on neural networks back in the 80s and 1990s, and he was shunned from the computer science community because everyone said, this isn't going to work. What are you doing? But he kept at it. He was persistent. And for him to come out and say this, I think that, everyone else could say it, but this is the guy. This is the person that you have to listen to. Obviously, there's others like Demis Hassabis and all of that, but this is the one guy that you have to listen to. So he may be late to the party, but maybe he just took some time to consider what was happening at what rate. And now he's seeing it, he can recognize it and be confident in what he's saying. But I don't think any of his points are invalid. I think it's quite... Well, everyone kind of knows that this is what's going to happen. So it's interesting for him to say that. And as a side note, I actually do want to talk to him. I want to pick his brain about this. So if we could get him... I
mean, he's been doing the rounds with interviews with, the big names. I've seen him, I think, on CNN or BBC.
Okay.
So he is, I think, doing those appearances. So maybe, we'll try and get him for the podcast. Would be amazing. But beyond that, I do think whatever he's been saying, it's less surprising, but more of a validation of the dangers that other people were talking about all this time, right? That the negatives of AI and him kind of saying it just cements those points. But because the points he mentioned, we've been kind of talking about it for almost a year now, and the misinformation stuff, I think. Generally, even before that, we had Photoshop and stuff. It's just going to be faster. The whole losing jobs, and I'll come back to that in a second because there's this whole strike going on, which is kind of related to AI.
On the losing job thing, did you hear about IBM?
No. What's
7,500 or 7,800 jobs cut from IBM, and they said they're replacing it with AI.
And I think this is something we spoke about in the last podcast.
Oh, we did talk about that.
IBM thing. Not the IBM stuff specifically, but something I mentioned was how founders of these companies or, the senior execs who makes these decisions, they generally do so by planning ahead of time. That, quarter one reports are in, let's see what we can do in quarter two and quarter three. And then they plan these job cuts ahead of time. It's not very instantaneous. What AI has done is accelerating these job cuts at a faster rate and basically unplanned as well, because they didn't really think about this stuff maybe 2 years or a year or even the quarter before the last, right? It's only in the last 6 months they started thinking about these things. So whatever you said, like the IBM taking out 7,000, replacing it with AI, not surprising at all. We'll only see more of this.
So with something like that, I'm curious to see if they're moving too quickly. Like if they're jumping, not on hype, because AI does have some legitimate uses, but maybe, replacing that many jobs that quickly, it might not pay the dividends that they think it does, unless those people are sitting around twiddling their thumbs.
I think that's also the case of just, the economy is not at a favorable position for these companies. You're looking at the numbers of shares and stock prices for these companies. The reason why they're still seeing green is because they're cutting jobs. Like the whole tech industry, we've been talking about this for 6-8 months as well. So now I think for the companies that were kind of holding on to that stuff, that let's kind of ride the wave out. Now they've got more confidence, because that is the easiest way you can save money, is cutting people off of these companies. Like that's the biggest where you can get those green arrows for the share prices. So that is perhaps
it's
where
a strong incentive.
Yeah. So even when the other companies were kind of in the middle ground, they're just taking that step now. So I don't think that necessarily going in quicker or faster. It's more of a now we have assurance that we can let go some of these people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just terrible how we're talking about this, because these are people and it's their lives, their livelihood depend on these things. But that's how companies see everyone. Like
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, it's just numbers.
Yeah. It's I don't know. It's a hard thing to talk about when you're saying, oh look, the stock arrows are green.
Yeah.
But these people, like, they've got to go home to their family and say, I don't know, what do we do now? Like, just got a 3-month severance package, and you just got to find out what to do next. It's I guess it's just how it is. But and you have this feeling in your head that it's going to return to how it was in some stage. But with AI, this is the difference. Like, what if that's permanent? Like, all companies just shrink and shrink and shrink, and that's just how it is. Like, it kind of is what Hinton is referring to.
Yeah, and I think with Hinton also kind of saying that it's going to be, he even mentioned that it's a bigger threat than climate change, right? And I think that says something in a lot of ways. And I know climate change is a whole political side of things, is that you can't even mention it. But beyond that side of things, just him telling it that way shows how, at least from his perspective, how serious he thinks it is. Because what are people going to do when they don't have that income? And again, we have covered this in details over and over and over again, but it just feels like one of those topics that just keeps coming back.
It's kind of like we're seeing it from imagine, how could I put this? Imagine you have you're driving a car, right? And you're in this tunnel, and then you come out of the tunnel. It's this like vast desert landscape thing. You're just in this tunnel, and you're like, oh, like I can see the light from the coming in from where I'm about to drive to. But it's not like when you get to that desert landscape, it's going to disappear again. You're going to go back into a tunnel. It's like the new area that you're in. So we're going to keep covering this, as in talking about job losses, because that's just the new area. That's just how it is from the future onwards. So I know you do have to keep putting that disclaimer, but that's like, we're literally at a precipice. Like, we're changing states.
Yeah, and just AI in general, right? Because we've been doing this for a year now, and the podcast, and the first few episodes, we didn't even touch AI as much. Like, all our topics were very different. And now just, once we first started hearing about the whole revolution, we spoke about these things that we were going to predict that, okay, these things might happen. And now kind of seeing it play out is why we keep talking about it. And that's the deja vu thing, that some comments mentioned. So it's just seeing it happen in real time and as fast is what's scary, exciting, a bit overwhelming. It's actually a lot of conflicting emotions, to be honest. But going into that job loss side of things, have you seen the Hollywood writers are on strike?
The
Hollywood writers.
I heard about that, yeah.
Yeah, so after a breakdown in negotiations between the Writers Guild of America and film and television companies, Hollywood's writers have walked off the job for the first time in 15 years. The impact of your favorite shows will depend on how long the strike lasts. Luckily, Succession's final season has already been written, so I'm safe. But things like the late night talk shows, like Saturday Night Live and Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, they're already off air immediately this week, and they're replaced with reruns until foreseeable future. So that's how immediate some of these strikes are impacting.
Is it a pay issue?
So there's been multiple reasons. The first one, not the first one necessarily, but the general thing is obviously the way they're being treated in terms of pay and conditions. But then there's the second side to it, which is the AI potentially taking away their jobs. They say they're not only demanding better conditions for themselves, but are trying to save show business from AI. One fear is that the studios and streamers will soon try to cut costs further by outsourcing script development and screenwriting to AI. The humans who created Tony Soprano, Don Draper, and Shiv Roy from Succession say something fundamental will be lost if Hollywood allows itself to become a wasteland of AI-generated stories. This is from an article from the ABC, but that's kind of like the overarching story. Writers that started this strike. This happened also in 2007, 2008. I remember like there were stories about them going on strike for a long period. I think it was 100 days or something like that. It impacted the content producer on that time, massively, and we will likely see something similar. But I think the difference is
the AI angle.
The AI is the main reason.
There's two things. We'll get to the AI thing later, but if they're just going to be showing reruns of everything and basically production slows in a lot of areas, what do you think the follow-on effect would be? Because back in 2008, 2009, there was no online, in a general sense, there was not really an online media landscape. But now we have user-generated content, we have another place to turn to. Do you think that this could actually have a bigger impact than previously?
I just think it might backfire
on
the writers. Because now, with AI...
So they're just like, we don't want AI, we're going to stop. And they're like, they leave and they're like, okay, let's just get the AI to do it.
I fear that's going to be the case because, again, like these companies, these execs, these studios, they don't really care about employees as much, in the sense that like they can always replace you. That's what we've been saying all this time, and right now they have the leverage to carry on without these people because, again, ChatGPT and all the other AI tools are only going to get better from here, right? And all you need is just a couple of people who will be able to use that as the main tool to write these stories and stuff.
So sorry, go on.
No, having said that, obviously, I think it's not going to be as good. I think some of the studios, they'll try it out and they'll see they actually need writers who are talented, because we keep going back to that main point of the creative soul. That you need that storytelling capabilities that only humans still can hold.
But there's kind of like a blended option where a lot of people don't think about, where it's you have one or two very talented people that just so happen to have the knack to be able to extract perfect things from the AI. Like you're doing the work of so many other people, and just because you're good at that, you can kind of make it seem less AI-ish and just add that human touch, but the productivity has gone up 10x. Like, I think that's a situation that can happen now, and that maybe these writers should be a little worried about.
Yeah, I agree. So I think there's going to be a portion of writers who will be left behind, just like other individuals in other industries because of AI. And there will be some who will take this opportunity and, I'll be that middle man between AI and writers that lacked in the past or that will be required in the future. And studios will pay them maybe 3 times the amount that they would pay, 10 other people or something like that, and then keep those individuals who are really good at doing this. So I fear that this strike or strikes like this will backfire on a lot of people. But having said that, I don't know what the quality of output is going to be, because these great TV shows and movies obviously didn't write themselves, and they needed these very creative and talented individuals to aid that. So we'll know in 6 to 12 months as to if they do take that route of just going AI or maybe having a mix, what's the output going to be?
I was just thinking, imagine if, how Seinfeld, when you watch enough episodes, there's a bit of a formula there that you can see. And if you feed all Seinfeld episodes into an AI, then you can kind of get a general gist of it. What if there was a Hollywood AI specifically that OpenAI licensed out to Hollywood, where you could feed all your previous episodes in and it'll be tailored towards another episode. It's different, but it's it has that same structure. I think that could be an interesting issue. An interesting output, because I don't know if you've seen the Seinfeld episodes.
Yeah, and
on
apparently
YouTube.
It got taken down or something.
Yeah, I think it got not copyright claimed, but as in there was some copyright issue or something like that, even though it was original. But you can see that that's possible. So it's that's another aspect to it as well.
No, for sure. And again, and I'll show you something in a second. But just today I was watching this Star Wars, if it was made by Wes Anderson, entirely made using AI. So it's not fully AI generated, but obviously use AI generated programs to recreate that stuff. And it was really neatly produced. And it looked really good. It looked nice. It looked professional.
like when you say looked, is it the script was made by AI and someone shot it?
Oh no, it was more like it was built in a way that what if it was there? It's almost like a trailer. So it's like showing the best parts of this supposed hypothetical movie.
Okay.
So they didn't create the movie, but it looked aesthetically very nice, right?
Okay.
So those things we'll see more and more often, and it won't really require that much effort going forward. But we will see again like fully fleshed out, and until we see those fully fleshed out movies or TV shows or music videos that's entirely AI generated. I think we'll have to hold that judgment that we'll need.
This is just a random thought, but do you think we'll get dumber because of this? Do you think people will stop being able to think creatively?
I had asked this question to you before all this AI stuff. I remember asking this question to you, and this was when we were first talking about ChatGPT, and I'm sure we can kind of pull it out to go really back. But and I asked you this will make students like a lot lazy. It'll make them not think for themselves. And I think you answered saying that no, that's what people say, but it'll only help them. And I think that's. I remember you saying something around those lines.
Okay. Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. But I feel no, not really. It's like, and there was an example in a different podcast I was listening to, where making these tools more available will lead to so many people who weren't even aware of their creative powers to be able to exercise their creative selves. Because again, the gap between idea and execution is going to be so small as opposed to what it was 10, 15, 50 years ago, that most people, like, we'll see new creative frontiers. It will come at a cost of things we already know, but it will open up opportunities into new spheres that we haven't seen before. And the example that podcast gave was how I think NBA in the 90s and the 2000s started going around playing in different countries around the world, and how that enabled people in China, people like Lucas, I think one of the European, if I'm not mistaken, I don't follow NBA, but these people who weren't generally playing basketball to take up that sport and be really good at it. But if it wasn't for NBA going around or expanding the game from the USA to the rest of the world, they wouldn't have even known that they had that quality or the talent to be able to play.
But to me, it seems like that argument is like a subset of everything that's going on. Like you have, someone that has an innate talent that they weren't sure, like didn't know about, and then AI unlocks that for them.
Yes.
But then you have people that will just, copy homework and all of that other stuff, which is another side.
Yeah, so in some ways there will, and it'll come at a cost of again, some people using it to become more lazy in some ways. But then again, the same argument was the Google, when it first came on, like we don't have to go through flipping maps, like map books or yellow pages or things like that, and you can just type up. And so in some ways, again, like what are we using this technology for? It's really to free up time to like convenience brings us that side of things, which is that you will be lazy in some ways. But I don't think lazy is the right word. I think it just makes things more convenient. For people to then think for themselves, I think, maybe a little bit. But again, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, are people more dumb these days because of the internet?
Yes.
I mean, yes, but then I'm sure there were dumber people in the past.
Yeah, I guess so. Like it's the old adage: are we just more exposed to it now because of the internet, or was there always this many dumb people?
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, let's not.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to go on a different route. Look, I'll send you some stuff.
Okay.
Just go to YouTube.
Yep.
And type up Martian love.
What? Was this kind of like rotoscoped on top, or was this like?
So this is they're calling it AI generated, but I think that's the wrong term for this. This I think is more AI. Enhanced is probably the right word, because AI generated would mean you type something and it just comes up. The music isn't AI generated. The music was done,
of course,
by themselves. The music video was then, I think, using certain programs, probably Runway or other programs, I think that it was shot normally, and then have AI enhance it to look in a certain way. It's almost like filters.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't really call it AI generated, but it does have those characteristics of how we've been seeing a lot of those examples of Runway and other AI generative, text to video images and videos. So as you're looking at this, right, what are your initial thoughts in terms of like, oh, is it a cool music video? If I didn't know it was AI generated, would I really care? Because I think when somebody uses the words AI generated, I think that's where the interest peaks.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't AI generated, it'd be just like, oh, it's just another animated video.
I kind of get it, but like I think it has a interesting style, like stylistically, but it feels a little uncontrolled still. Like that there wasn't thought in every frame, if that makes sense. Like it's hard to explain, but it just seems like a little messy. That's the best way I can put it.
I think that was more of a creative decision to leave it messy.
You could say that, but there's a saying in music that if someone complains about something you did, just say it was a creative decision. So I'm not sure if it's this or that, but that's just how I feel about it. Yeah. I think it still needs a few more months, in my view. But I think it's interesting.
Yeah, but then I think once we get to that, like few more months to what? To make it more look clean, to make it look better.
Just a little, like, you know how things change in the latent space all the time, every frame. Like having that solidified and locked, so things don't morph between where it should. Like it's really hard to describe, but.
So again, that goes to the point that, okay, once we've reached that part where everything's very clean and we're essentially trying to create output that already exists, but much easier rather than something completely new.
I wouldn't say that's output that already exists, because once it's locked, you can do a lot of crazy stuff. I'm just saying that there's like a sort of bounded chaos where it's like trying to escape and then we're kind of pushing it.
Yeah, but see, like all the examples of say Midjourney or whatever, that you see online, things like something in the style of Pixar, something in the style of Wes Anderson, something like these already exist. You know what I mean?
But but I'm not even talking about that. It's like literally the fundamental look of it.
Right.
So it's.
I just feel even with AI, we're not going to get anything that looks extremely crazy or like stylistically or aesthetically. I think we're just going to recreate stuff that already exists, but just much easier. Because right now, this looks a bit different than other things. But then I've seen music videos that kind of look like this already. You know what I mean? It's just the fact that it's AI generated is what got me interested. I feel that most of the content will just be trying to recreate what we already know in terms of styles and aesthetics.
And I agree with that. Yeah,
maybe there'll be 1%. And I guess that's what that's the joy of the tech, that it'll unlock that 1% that wouldn't have been otherwise possible.
Yes. Yeah. So it's like you can type in some crazy prompts that's like you wouldn't even imagining it is like hard. But then actually having done that, like obviously a few years ago you'd need a camera, you'd need to set up everything, or like really good CGI skills. But because it's so easy, like you can just do it and think it, and it's there.
No, I agree with that, but just my reason for showing you the music video was more so that if you didn't know this was AI generated stuff, I really wouldn't bat an eye that way. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing that happened with the initial DALL-E images, and even now the Midjourney 5.1 stuff. Like we've gotten to a point where it's indistinguishable from real photo, but then
what's the point?
So what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So like the way you use it is now easier, because now I don't have to do product photos. I don't have to spend hours and hours on Photoshop. Like that's the outcome. But then it's not something that we are saying that's absolutely insane. And I think it could also be the whole combination and permutation kind of thing, where we've probably reached that part of everything sounds like the same thing, or everything looks like the same things that we've seen already. So I don't know, man. I've just been thinking about that but I likelihood.
I just still think it falls on the user. Like if we have these brilliant tools out there, and if you just have, like, imagine Van Gogh now, where he didn't paint, but he had just had this crazy imagination, and he used AI tools, and it comes up with stuff that's no one's seen, but it's just because he has that in his head, you know? Like, I think that 1% of people that do that will be still awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I think.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the thing you mentioned, that, you know, it's hard to get awe-inspired these days.
Yes, that word that we still don't have.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be more and more frequent and common. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then I think that, partially because, again, we've kind of seen most things that could be done already in a lot of ways. But again, no, I could be very much wrong. And a year from now, we'd be seeing things that are absolutely insane.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, let us know in the comments. Send links to a few crazy AI generations.
Yeah, well, it'd be good to review some of that. Stepping away from AI. So on 3rd May, Vice, the global news publisher and TV company, was reportedly close to filing for bankruptcy. Guess how much they hit in terms of valuation in 2017?
Oh, I'm going to say in the tens of billions.
Oh, you know, you're overestimating a little bit.
Okay.
But 5.7 billion.
Okay.
So not a total bad guess,
Yeah.
to be fair. So they hit $5.7 billion in valuation in 2017. And they've been seeking a sale at a price tag of about 1.5 billion. Today, Vice Media is nearing a deal to be bought out of bankruptcy by senior lenders in a process that will wipe out, you know, existing shareholders, including James Murdoch, the son of Rupert Murdoch. And a source familiar with the situation confirmed the WSJ report that it'll put a valuation of $400 million in the business. Although some parties think that 300 to 350 is more realistic.
So who's buying?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I haven't, but it's basically being bought by senior lenders. And yeah, I think that's what it says. I haven't dug deeper, but essentially 5.1 billion to 400 million is the price tag now, and I still think it's a bit expensive, don't you think?
No comment, really. I don't know. I don't know what. I wouldn't know how to value that, but I guess 2017. Did you say?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess the online media landscape was hot, very hot then. BuzzFeed was doing crazy stuff with valuations. I think it's a symptom of just sobering up. Like, you see the returns and profitability that the company in the long run can make, and then you're saying, well, obviously it's not worth that much. And there's not much you can do about it. It's just the way the business is run. I guess maybe they're not getting the amount of views or the eyeballs or ad rates. It's just how it is. So I think it's a little surprising that it's, I don't know, like, I'd expect as much from BuzzFeed, but Vice, it seems like it does real reporting, like journalists on the ground going to sometimes, well, this is back in the day anyway, war-torn countries or whatnot, and actually providing something that's different in the media landscape. And that should have had a price, but apparently I think they've changed their direction a bit into stuff that's a little more flippant. to be fair
to BuzzFeed, they did win the Pulitzer Prize for their
news. Look, they had like 3 good, massive, great news stories, but then the rest was like, which princess are you? And
I think I'm in the same boat as you. I think the back catalog has some value, but just going forward, and I think we spoke about this already, like media companies of that size or of that structure are going away, and it's just an indication of what's to come, I believe. Another part of the news, what's your thoughts on Boring Company?
What's my views?
Yeah.
That's a weird one. No, I don't hear that much about it. Like, obviously tunnels under LA.
So again, just to give you a bit of context, so the Boring Company is expanding its tunnel network underneath Las Vegas by 25 miles, which will add 18 new stations to its original plan. This is after the commissioners at Clark County, Nevada, has approved the latest expansions, and basically, Elon Musk's owned company, the Boring Company, will now be looking to make this a reality. I haven't done much research about the company itself, but just from the surface, it just seems like such an odd I don't know, project, really.
Yeah, it's like underground tunnels to, fix traffic problems in major cities. But then we have rail. We could just build rail.
So I feel with companies like this, what Elon tries to do or other, billionaires try to do, is this is a stepping stone to something else. So they experiment with these ideas, with these projects, and then findings from those they implement into other projects. But
this is speculation, though, right?
This is my opinion.
Because
really.
What the thing is,
it's a very expensive way to find out.
Exactly,
things,
very capital intensive, and you're transporting cars like underground. Like, it just seems very inefficient. And in my view, the only thing you're finding is how to dig tunnels. There's not really much. Like, I don't know. I don't really understand.
Yeah, same. And I don't think we ever spoke about the Boring Company in the podcast. So just wanted to know your thoughts on it.
Yeah, like when it was first announced, I was like, okay, that's interesting. But I didn't really understand it. I was like, maybe I'm missing something. But then over the years, like as little bits of information came out, I was like, this still doesn't make sense. Yeah. I don't know what the point is. So unless it's a big money laundering scheme, I'm not sure.
I mean, their flamethrowers all sell out. So
yeah. So when you said Boring Company, the image I got in my head was the flamethrower.
Yeah.
Like that's the only branding that really sticks to me. So I don't know. Like I did see a video of someone trying it out, and it seemed a bit rickety. Like sitting.
Well, the flamethrower.
No. Sorry, the actual tunnel.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a strange thing. I don't know. I'm surprised that they're expanding still. I thought it was one of those things that Musk is not talking about and it's slowly shrinking.
Yes.
But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, this just happened this week, which is why I brought it up in the podcast. So maybe worth, digging a bit deeper, digging a bit of tunnel into the Boring Company.
Tunneling deeper.
Two final news of the day. Just a note on BeReal of the Q.
Sorry.
Yes.
Before we get to BeReal, there's a new app in town.
Oh.
It's called Lemon 8. Have you heard of it?
No. Oh yeah, I think I have. It's a TikTok competitor.
TikTok / Pinterest.
Yeah, I heard it was picking up when there were talks of the US ban on TikTok.
Yeah. But then when you look deeper into the company, it has like the same headquarters as TikTok.
Yes,
the
exactly. That's how I know.
TikTok.
Yes.
So it's like they're trying to get around it, but it's not really working. But I haven't personally looked at it, but I've seen a couple of videos on it. Looks pretty boring. But it's picking up though. Like apparently, 17 million users or something like that worldwide, like monthly users. So it's not small, but it's just one of those things where it's like, what are you really aiming towards? Like,
yes.
Yeah. Sorry, but go on.
No, I mean, I wanted to cover BeReal because you obviously made a video about it in ColdFusion, main channel. So those who didn't watch it, do give it a watch. But other than that, just the numbers that came out recently. So obviously the app had been a huge success. They jumped from 1 million to 20 million users in just 7 months. I downloaded it in the last few months as well. I've been using it. And obviously the central to its success was its positioning that, it was the anti-social media, the anti-Instagram. It's a place for authenticity. But its active daily users more than halved between October 2022 and March 2023, down from 20 million to 6 million. And its expected demise not only forces to ask, how authentic the photo sharing app is, but also if we do really need an authentic app in the first place. And this is something again we spoke about.
Yeah, so like I think even on that podcast, I said it would die one of like 2 or 3 ways.
Yeah.
And one of them was just people would get bored if they don't do anything, and I think that's just what's happening.
Yes, and again, the reason why I bring this up is because we spoke about the future of it, and right now I guess is the future of the app in some ways, and just to see how they're going to revive it, because we spoke about they're going to advertise, they don't have the angle that they.
Sorry, it's just that crow's like trying to eat something. It's
bloody hell! It's a massive crow. It's huge. Reminds me of Game of Thrones.
Okay, it's gone now. All right.
But yeah, just with the BeReal stuff, it's like I don't know what the future is, except for the only way it points is that
I saw a little headline. I didn't really look into it, but apparently they're looking to just have celebrities, like a whole bunch of celebrities do BeReals. I don't know if they're paying them for that or what the arrangement is, but I think we did talk about that as well, that would be a good way to get people in, because it's not Instagram where they've posed for a shot. It's just the real real behind the scenes lives of people that you all know. And I think that's unique in any app. But then again, you have to be a person that really loves celebrities.
But even more important than that is, how are they going to monetize the app?
Yeah,
monetize its
that's the
users.
problem.
There's literally no, unless I've missed it, I haven't seen any single ad. I don't know how they're planning to monetize the users, because you will burn out of the seed funding at some point.
Yes.
So while the concept is great, while you would have gotten a lot of users, you'll need a way to monetize the whole thing, and I guess that's where it's going to lose out.
Yeah, that's the problem.
So I don't know. My prediction is that it's unless they drastically change how they monetize, bye.
Yeah, I think so as well. It's tough. And I thought by now they would have worked out something, but I guess not.
Final story of the day: the Google Fold. You seen the video?
All I've seen is it's everywhere, but all I've
It's a
seen
teaser.
is just,
It looks like 2 Pixel 7s just stacked
yeah.
against one another. But they did release a teaser of the Pixel Fold ahead of the Google I/O announcement next week. And obviously there was a lot of rumors over the last, I don't know, God knows how many years. They finally confirmed that it exists and that apparently it's coming out. I have mixed thoughts about it. First of all, I don't know if I'm going to get it. As you know, listeners to the podcast know I'm a big Google user. I got a Chromebook, I got a Google Watch, Google phone. So I'm very much alive in that Google ecosystem. But yeah.
This is interesting, or this will be interesting to hear from you. What are the points that make you think you don't need such a product?
Because I guess also me being the user that I am, I think just a single hand phone user, having a foldable like that with more visual real estate, I don't know, like I don't really use my phone to watch YouTube videos or stuff like that. I usually watch the videos, on TV or something, or on my PC. So that is perhaps one reason that I don't really need that. I'm not an iPad user, or I'm not a tablet user. So if it replaces that, maybe, but I don't really use it as a workstation either. So that's kind of like my personal
right. I think it's supposed
angle.
To be that in between zone. So you got the mobile phone for just like basic like small tasks, and then you have the foldable, which is in between the iPad or whatever. So it's like if you need to get some email work done, if you need to do some whatever productivity stuff, it's a lot more like pleasant than using it.
I think I'll have to wait for more of the announcement that comes out regarding it. I think if it amplifies my productivity side of things, then maybe I'll consider it. But then I'll have to adapt a new way of using the technology. But also interesting why they decided to go this route, because is it to compete directly against Samsung's market in that area? Because the foldable market isn't that big.
Yeah, but they're just looking around. It's like, it's free real estate. There's no one here. So I think it makes sense as long as they don't throw out the Pixel line. Yeah. I think to have a phone on top of that, above that, with a larger foldable screen.
And that makes sense.
Yeah. I doubt they'll throw out the. I hope they don't, because that would be a disaster. But anyway, the foldable market isn't very big. Mainly Chinese companies. Samsung dominates everywhere else. So for Google, I think they're sniffing an opportunity that they could capitalize here, but really they have to do a good job. Yeah, they have to do a good job in utilizing that screen real estate. Make sure the hinge doesn't break. Make sure it doesn't have all those issues that the first
see the videos coming out.
Yeah, like that would be horrendous if the launch was not smooth. Like they have to get this right.
The bezels already look so big. Google and their bezels.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think that when they bought HTC, or their hardware division, they really should have utilized that, because HTC was brilliant, quietly brilliant. Sorry.
Wow. That signals the end of the podcast.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you again soon for the next one. Cheers.